Hello Linux fans, Rob here and welcome to Linux Quest. Thanks for watching. So last night I posted a video where I had some issues with the install of Solus OS, and I really wanted to do kind of a first preview, first time installing Solus and checking it out, and just kind of revolve the video around that. I thought that would be fun, and I ran into some issues that I initially thought may have been related to an update within Solus OS. Just without getting into a lot of details, I did a reinstall, and I believe my issues were with the test machine with hardware, that they're hardware related. I can't verify that yet, but in fairness to Solus, which I think it deserves it, I just installed this on another test system with a little better spec, so 4 gigs of RAM, a Core, well, a little better, Core i3 processor, and 4 gigs of RAM. So this is more of a mediocre device. And because I certainly wanted to give Solus the due time, and so I'm going to call this a semi-preview, in that I've got to spend a little more time than initially I had planned to for the video. Now I also want to mention that I received a message from Ithink, who is the founder of Solus OS. He, I think, just stumbled upon my video. I had not listed it in the Solus Google Plus link or anything like that, and so he found me, I think, somewhat by mistake or happenstance, and reached out to me to offer assistance with the troubles that I was having. And so, Ike, I just want to say thank you for that. I can't think of a time when Bill Gates reached out to me with from the Windows XP's days and on up. Never got a message from Bill Gates. So, Ike, thank you for spending the time, and thank you for doing your due diligence there to assist. And also, we'll just I'll just throw this out. So, Solus OS, this is developed in Ireland. And last year, through some genealogy research, I found out that all of my father's family is from Ireland, and we were able to trace back all the way to the late 1500s, the ship that came from Ireland to the U.S., to the new colony, to the new colony, and I was able to trace back as far as the 1500s. So all from Ireland. So I'm going to have I'm probably going to have some bias maybe in this video, but at any rate, Solus is certainly a distribution worth looking at on many fronts. And as I said, this is not a real preview. I'd hope to do that. This is more of a semi-preview because I've been able to spend more time with it. So let's go to the Solus page here, and I just want to mention a few things. They want to make sure you're aware that this is open source, and their focus there is on the open source end of things. This is built for desktop. There's all the focus and resources and time spent goes into a desktop user experience. No phablets here. And ease of use is important as well, and that certainly shows in this OS. And let's jump over to the blog, because I want to mention this is a current recent release, and that was my purpose timing-wise for checking out Solus. Plus I had viewers to my channel who said, hey, you've got to check out Solus, and so it's been on my list. The desktop for Solus OS is called Budgie, and that is or Budgie, that is a custom desktop derived from, I believe, GNOME 3, and I gotta say that I like it better than GNOME 3. I've spent a little time with GNOME, and I'm not there yet with GNOME. I know that it has a strong following, and there are good reasons for using that desktop environment, but I just haven't come around to it. But I really like what Budgie is doing here with the desktop design. So that's version 10.2.7, and then the Solus release is 1.2.0.5. Now, as soon as I installed this fresh, I was presented with 3 updates. Unfortunately, I went ahead with the updates. I should have saved them to kind of show you how they're categorized, because I like what they have done with the categories. If you go into updates, and I'll probably jump around a little bit more than I normally do. We're going to go into Software Center here. And we'll switch over here to updates. Let's just do a quick check. I love this discombobulating update matrix. So I've certainly never read that during a software update process. But if we had updates here, the way they were categorized, I thought was intelligent. You had main system update, and it was pre-checked, pre-highlighted, as if they said you must apply this update, system update. I guess you would consider that maybe a critical update in the Windows world, one that you really should apply. So that was pre-checked. And then you had security updates and package updates. So I decided to go ahead and do all three updates, and it was fast and smooth and did exactly what it needed to do. And then I rebooted the system afterwards and discovered that now we are on kernel 4.7.3. So that's a very recent kernel, and so I guess this is kind of a semi-rolling release, and I like that because you can, you can stay on top of kind of what's coming down the road in the kernel, and you're not having to wait for a 6-month release cycle or anything like that. So kudos there. And then it lends to the fact that this is a built from scratch operating system. So there's advantages to that, and being able to set it up as a rolling release is one of those advantages. Being able to apply some ingenuity to to the operating system is, I think, something that when you're building from the ground up, it gives you more leeway. I think there's room there for a focus on security and things like that. And it's also a much more difficult task. I mean, it's much easier to take, Ubuntu or Arch or something like that and build off of that. So the fact that they've put the time in to build this from scratch is impressive. So let's jump into a few key things that really stand out with Solus. And the first thing I just want to, for me, sometimes it's small attentions to detail that really make a big impact with the way you use an operating system. And I'm just encouraged, to see these things really coming to fruition in Linux distributions, where years ago, you could jump from one distro to the other, and just there were so many similarities depending on the desktop you used, etc. But anyway, so here's one small detail. So we have a notification bell here. That is currently red, and that tells you, it stands out, number one, but it tells you you have a notification. Now this notification is simply that I've connected to the wireless network. And I'm going to clear that here, and you'll notice that it's now white. So small detail, but that's key. I mean, easily you're going to be able to look up here and see, hey, I have a notification. It's bright red. You can't miss it. Now, I want to back up and retrace just a little bit. So when you first install this latest version of Solus, what you'll get is this panel activating anytime you click on this particular group of icons. So there were like 4 or 5 icons, Bluetooth, sound, battery, and maybe Wi-Fi was included in that. Then when you would click any of those icons, this panel would pop out. Now, I'm a big fan of this panel, and I like what they're doing here with this. This reminds me somewhat of the deepened desktop environment with a panel on the right. I like it because this is kind of wasted space. I'm not one who puts a lot of icons on my desktop and things like that. I like that clean look. That's just me, but I think this panel, you could expand on this. Even if you wanted to come out further and provide more information, you could, because it goes out of the way, and it's not intrusive at all when you're not using it. So there's lots of information here. You've got calendar, you can adjust your volume, you've got input output here for audio, and then down at the bottom you have a main settings icon. You could log out or lock out the screen, and then you have your power off options. Now here I believe this is log out. If you actually wanted to have a larger list of shutdown options, you've got lock, suspend, restart, and shut down here. Now I will say that before the update, which I applied once I did a fresh install and reboot, you did not have this icon here to pop the panel in and out. So this is a fairly major graphical UI change here and giving you this this ability to pop it out. And you have now individual controls over these icons. So if you go to notification, the bell there, it's going to pop out automatically to notification. And then you have individual control here over network. Now I did notice for whatever reason this is a dark theme, and for whatever reason we have a white background here, so there may be some tweaking that they're going to do, you know, in the theming and that kind of thing. But I think this is a good move. I like having that individual simple control there when you want to access it without, you know, popping out the entire panel. So, you know, that gives a user choice, and you know, we all know that's what Linux is about. So so I like that. And let's go deeper here into what all features are in this panel. So you have applets, and without having had the time to really dig in and see what is available, my guess is you could add other applets through this list somewhere. You have some space here, it looks like, where you could do that. But you also have a settings icon here, so we're going to pop over to settings. Now this allows you to go in and customize just about everything here to do with themes and the desktop environment. So you've got dark theme, built-in theme, arc here is chosen by default, which is it's a very nice look. You go in and adjust the background, desktop icons, toggle on or off. And I want to mention something here too, the toggle switches. So this is probably part of the GNOME environment. I really should spend more time with GNOME and then I would know this. But I like these larger toggles because they lend themselves to a touch interface. And let's face it, you know, touch interface is, yes, it's a desktop environment, but you know that technology is coming down in price, and you just see it on more and more laptops. So you know, I mean, let's face it, you know, it'd be nice to, you're doing work and then you grab the laptop and you're lounging after hours and watching videos or whatever, and you flip the screen around and you're using it like a tablet. So with that in mind, I like seeing these controls that are suitable for touch interface. But you can change fonts, window titles, windows, etc. And then here for panel, you can go in and add and remove various things in your taskbar here with spacers and everything. So I really like this. I think this is ingenuity, and that's a good thing. So those are a few things that you'll see that are unique to Solus and Budgie Desktop, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sure I'll be corrected if not. And then the other thing here is the app launcher, and this is, you know, similar to some desktop environments. They do some things here, and again, I'm glad I was able to spend a little more time. So I have seen where you click on all and you just get a list of all the software alphabetically, but the developers here have taken time to add categories which do some separation of the applications, which is, I think, helpful. Again, attention to detail on some things there. Now this is a light distribution, and what I mean by that, aside from the fact that it seems to run very fast and smooth on this system, and I'm glad I installed it on this system, because the hardware, I believe, was failing on the other test machine, and it just did not give fair representation of Solus. But this is a light distribution, and so let's just pop through quickly here. So for accessories, you have Files and Calculator and Gedit. Internet, what you see there, Firefox, HexChat, Mozilla Thunderbird for mail and transmission as your BitTorrent client. Say that fast 5 times. And then under Office, I was surprised, but there is no Office Suite installed. Now you have access to LibreOffice, and we'll get into the App Center here in just a minute. And I'm okay with that. You know, for a first-time user, it'd be nice to have something there in way of Writer or something like that. But you know, again, I like having the option, and I like that it's a light distro. You know, I'm 50-50 there. For a new user who tries Solus for the first time, you know, it may be nice for them to have an Office Suite there, but you know, again, I'm 50-50 there. Under Sound and Video, VLC by default, Rhythm Box, and Simple Screen Recorder I installed for this video. So under Sundry, you got print settings, and I haven't gotten into the print settings or tested the printer. Again, this is more of a semi-first look. System settings, a good long list of everything, and then System Tools. So there you could go to, you know, directly to Software Center. terminal, so on and so forth. And then under Utilities, System Monitor, Image Viewer, Document Viewer, Archive Manager. I do not see anything in way of USB tools, and so I'd kind of like to see that. And I guess I've got another pet peeve. Well, let me back up before I do that. You are launched right into Start, so to where you can search. So look how fast, very fast. And you know, and it found what I was looking for instead of that and two other things which I've seen before. So I guess that depends on what you have installed. But anyway, one other pet peeve of mine, and I wish you could do this, and maybe there's a setting somewhere or a tweak tool that could be used and installed and used to do this. I'm not fond of scrolling, so if there's a long list, I would much rather have the ability to drag this window down to enlarge this window so that, number one, I don't have to scroll as far, or I simply do not have to scroll. So it's just a pet peeve of mine. But for the most part, I mean, you can quickly get to whatever you want or just do a simple search. The other thing is that you notice here on this panel you had some icons that were already set up on the panel, and you can add your own by simply going to, let's see here, let's go to Thunderbird and we'll right click. Actually, no, I'm wrong. You're going to launch that, and we are not going to set up, I'm not going to bore you with that, but now that it is launched, you can right click on the icon and say Pin to Panel. Now, one thing that I have not found out how to do, and maybe someone can fill me in, is how to move or rearrange these icons. And again, that's because I haven't spent enough due diligence with this operating system, and I'm sure that there's a way to do that, I just haven't found it. But I do like the ability to pin those icons there. And let's just go over here just a moment, and we'll go into Settings, and I am going to let's see, let's go to Panel. Here we go. So I'm going to bump up the size of this panel, and that's what I was hoping to see. So if you notice, the icons also enlarge and they're not distorted. So I have seen that on, I've seen that on other desktop environments, to where once you get into things like enlarging panels and things like that, then the icons don't scale the way they should and really do not look sharp, and here they did. So again, I think attention to detail. All right, let's go into Software Center, because this is a main part of the system, and so certainly we need to take our time here and look at this. So categorized, you've got Home, which launches you into the main categories of the available software. And let me say that you, to my knowledge, you cannot download a deb file or an RPM and install it like you would, in other distributions. I believe what you have in this repository is what you get. But I want to get into that a minute here in more detail. But before we do, of course, you've got the updates here, which we looked at earlier. This gives you a list of what's installed, and I did notice that some programs have icons and others don't. Maybe there's a reason behind that. I just was curious about that. Now here's something I was happy to see: third party, and this surprised me. But they offer Google Chrome, Spotify, Opera browser, and you typically don't see those. There are a few distributions with like the Software Boutique that offers this, but it surprised me to see it. Now I haven't tried installing anything, and I'm not going to for this first video. And then you have search, and I found search to be fast. Again, we'll go to Simple Screen Recorder and see how fast that was. So, and again, it's not mixed in with 3 other applications that have a few of the letters that I typed. So happy to see that. All right, we're going to go back to Home, and so you have these main categories here, and then when you click on a main category, you're presented with subcategories, and I like that. Especially on games. I like strategy games, and I happen to see that one of my favorite old-time games, Warzone 2100, is included. That's a great game if you're into real-time strategy, by the way. So I like that there's subcategories, and that is throughout the Software Center. I will say, though, I think you've got a lot of empty space here, and so the designers could maybe enlarge these subcategory icons, maybe get closer to the size, and I know it's a space limitation, but maybe get closer to the size of what we see here in this pane. And the reason I say that is, number one, I'm not getting younger, so my eyes are not as good as they used to be. But you've got the space here, and I think that with some tweaking and some artistic talent, I'm sure that the Solus team has, they could go in and just give this a little better look. But I think for the most part, this is laid out well and intuitive and easy to understand. And it's certainly not the worst software manager that I've seen. While we're on the subject of software, I remember in the, I guess, early days of Solus maybe, and I'm not going to go back too far on that, but I remember reading reviews, and they were knocking Solus for the limited amount of software, and I certainly understand that. But here I think what you're going to see, or this is just my take, is that we'll go into Office here, and so you see Abbey Word, you're going to see the GNOME applications, which makes sense here, and then you're going to see LibreCAD, LibreOffice, and then let's go on down here. You see Scribus or Scribus, however you want to pronounce it. This is quality software, and I want to step back a minute and say, sure, okay, you may not find everything that you're looking for here. And I do not believe you can install like you would, via RPM or via deb file or whatever. But, let's step back and take a look here at the Google Play Store, in the Android world, or let's look at the Apple Store, where they tout millions of apps. And granted, they have millions of apps. But they also have, 30% of that, maybe 40% of that, which are either redundant apps or apps that just are not high quality, and probably 10 or 15% of those apps are just crap apps. I'll put it bluntly, they're just, a lot of those apps are crap. So what I think that they are focusing on here for Solus is quality over quantity. And that's just from first glance looking through what they are offering in way of software. This also, I think, allows them, since this is built from scratch, this allows them more control to maybe offer the user a higher quality experience. And, if you're running quality apps that have been tested with the system and they run well, then I think the user experience is going to benefit from that. And from that aspect, it makes sense. Now, I'm going to say that, and then, when I want to find that one app and I can't find it, I may have a different take. But just for this initial thought here, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, because I think maybe that's the way Ike and the team see it. So, you'll have to be the judge of that for yourself. Again, the interface, I like that they put the time into design and to make this a cohesive experience. It's certainly fast. Just the whole interaction, it feels solid, it feels fast, and I think there's been thought, lots of thought put into making this feel like it needs to feel. And years ago in Linux, that was not the case. There were distributions where everything felt patched together, and so you hear me talk about a cohesive feel quite a bit in my videos, and I just think that's important moving forward, because we're up against Windows, we're up against Mac, we're up against whatever Chrome OS is coming down the block, and Google is not going to rest on their laurels as far as their operating system is concerned. Now you can install applications in Chrome OS, so that's going to change things. And so, we have to compete in the Linux world. We have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to create a easy to use, functional, cohesive operating system that people enjoy using. And I think this is achieved here in Solus. There's a lot more to look at here, and let's just quickly bounce over into the file manager. So this looks like the standard file manager from GNOME, and nothing wrong with that. It's, in my opinion, it's not a power user's file manager, but you've certainly got everything that you need here. And I found too the ability to move to and copy to and from a USB drive, a USB flash drive, and You can't do that in all Linux distributions. Maybe that's a GNOME thing, maybe that's a Solus thing, I'm not sure. But you know, for a first-time Linux user, they're going to expect that because you can do that in Windows. And so to see that ability here was certainly nice. And so please let me know if that's a GNOME thing or a Solus OS thing. And if it's a Solus thing, I applaud you there. But you know, all of your file functionality is certainly there, and you can go in and tweak things out here under preferences. You know, one of my pet peeves is the ability to single click to open, and then also by default you had the ability to delete permanently. And you know, I don't want to have to delete and move it to trash, or then go into trash and empty trash. So I like this ability here. So there's a lot more, I'm sure, that with time, you know, that I'll discover about this. I haven't tried dual monitors or anything like that. I haven't gone into printer setup. You've got online accounts, and I believe that's the default GNOME 3 online account manager. Screenshot tool built in, which is nice to see. And so I'm gonna wrap this one up, and I'm you know, I kind of was torn on posting the video where I was having the issues, but I felt like since this was a new release that maybe the update broke something, and I just felt like through my YouTube channel that, you know, we have a forum there where people could provide feedback. And you know, my goal is to share with you what I see in a distribution, and just express, you know, the feel, and try to give you an idea of what it's about, and you know, giving you enough information that you can then determine, hey, is this something I want to check out for myself? And that's typically my goal. I don't have a rating system or anything like that in place. You know, so my initial take here, and again, I haven't spent much time, is that this would be an operating system that I would be comfortable using day in, day out, I believe. I would have to see from the software front if it offered everything I needed, and if it did, I could see using this, you know, in daily use, you know, for work or play or whatever. I would also be able to recommend this to a first-time Linux user or a new Linux user, as long as you were comfortable going in and installing the software that you need. And I think from a looking down the road standpoint, I look forward to seeing what Solus kind of how they develop and how things progress with this distribution. I think because it is built from scratch, we're going to see some things that may surprise us in the future from this development team, because they have leadway there. You know the old saying, it's easy to turn a small boat and turn left and right and make quick changes. It gets harder and harder to turn that giant ship. It takes more time to turn that giant ship, and we know that there are distributions out there that have become giant ships. And so because of that, not always, but because of that, sometimes you see ingenuity and things like that don't always develop at a pace that they could. And so I kind of get the feel, and I don't know this, but I get the feel that we could see some real ingenuity out of the Solus OS team because of the way it's been developed. So I hope this helps. And if you've got any questions about it, or good comments, things that I need to know or that you need to share with you know, with the video channel, please do so. And thanks for watching.